Caroline here for NOI Education Services, and this is our last video. Sad, it's okay, there's more coming. In our TAS Series 2024, and guess what? We are talking about this funding change my TAS. Yes, there are many of you out there that will be delivering training through funded means with the departments across the different states. Your experiences will be very different depending on the department that you're dealing with, depending on the case manager that you have. Sometimes it'll be a wonderful experience. Other times it will be frustrating as hell. But in either circumstance, you guys will need to make some changes to your TASs depending on the way it works. But before we do that, guys, if you haven't liked and subscribed, seriously, why not? Why? Hit that subscribe button down below. Do like it, do share, do all of those good things, because it certainly does help us continue to keep bringing this content to you. And guys, we've got so much good content coming to you. After we finish recording this series, we're going to be going straight into the new RTO standards for 2024 in anticipation of the new RTO standards that are coming out on 1/1/25. You do not want to miss that. We also have some amazing interviews coming out the same way that we did last year, because guess what? I am not the only great consultant out there. I'm one of them. But there are some really, really great consultants out there, some great vet practitioners, and we want you guys to get access to as many of those people as possible, because hopefully through listening to me talk and listening to other vet experts talk, you guys start to feel more comfortable when you are talking to other vet experts, when you're talking to auditors and things like that. And that's really, really important for you. If you are a trainer, an assessor, if you are an admin, if you are a RTO manager, if you are coming up for audit this year, it's important that you feel comfortable using the language of the RTO world. And we hope that's what we're bringing to you on a regular basis. And if you do like that, as I said, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share it with one of your friends, tell them to subscribe. It would really, really help me out. Anyway, we're going to get into how does funding change my TAS. Okay, so the biggest thing that is just going to make a difference when you're developing a training and assessment strategy for a funded program is you are going to have to start thinking nominal hours. Okay, so this is the only time that nominal hours should even factor into your scenario. And I'm going to say this because nominal hours are absolutely relevant to courses for any means other than as a funding mechanism for courses. Okay, they have nothing to do with the breadth and depth of the knowledge and skills in the course, to the point of we have units that are like 40 hours that legit require hundreds of hours of placement in industry, but like they only get paid 40 hours with certain state funding bodies. We have variations between the state funding bodies for the exact same unit of up to like 100 hours. So what you'll get paid for something in Queensland versus what you get paid for in WA versus what you get paid for in Victoria are all chalk and cheese. Same exact unit, same breadth and depth of skills and knowledge, however, different nominal hours. So one of the things that you will need to take into account is what the nominal hours are of the course. You will also then need to take into account whether there is requirements for a percentage delivery of any of those nominal hours. WA RTOs, I'm looking at you, because if you are delivering participation equity, participation work readiness, if you are delivering pit horses, then guess what? You are subject to a minimum percentage of the hours being delivered. Many of the other states also do take this into account when they're looking at the amount of training that you are delivering. The other reason why you need to take into account nominal hours is because obviously the nominal hours are going to determine the financial viability of the course. So if, for example, you are delivering 100% of the nominal hours of your course, I can almost guarantee you that unless you have like 60 students packed into a class, you're probably going to find that it's not viable. So, guys, this is where we boil down to the reality of the course. And yes, we want to look at things like training and assessment and making sure that courses are, high quality and that they're contextualized to the needs of the learners and everything like that. But we also need to take into account financial viability of those courses because, sad as it is, there is no point in running a course that is the best quality course out there, but it's non-viable. And so therefore, you're only going to be able to deliver it a couple of times before your business goes broke. So look, that is going to be one of the biggest factors. So what you need to work out is what you're actually going to get paid per learner, and what requirements there are in relationship to delivery. Now, a lot of the state funding bodies do heavily focus on whether or not you are delivering face to face. Now, when I say face to face, I mean you could be face to face one on one in a workplace. You could be face to face in a classroom with 18 students. You could be online Zoom, live online Zoom training. Okay. Most of the states now consider all three of those things, quote unquote, face to face training. Okay. What states often do not like and do not think that they are paying for is online training. And by online training, what I mean is that a learner is given access to an online portal, and then they participate in that online training, basically watching through a series of videos and engaging with a bunch of PDFs. Almost every interaction I've had with state regulators, they don't consider that that's value for money. Now, I would push back on this and say that if you have actually designed really beautiful materials, if you've made video content that is unique to your organization, contextualized to your learners, there's just, I mean, we've been very, very fortunate to be involved in some amazing projects over 2023 and 2024, where I think we've created some of the best online learning training that you can make. And I'm excited to do similar things in 2024, where, you know, the learning is super contextualized to the learner. It's authentically built from industry. It's really dynamic and engaging, and it's cost a huge amount for us to be able to produce that. However, when it comes to funding from government departments, that is a difficult argument to have, in my experience. You are welcome to have it. I would love to hear anyone who has had that argument successfully with a state funding body. Props to you. And I would imagine you would have had to have shown them something pretty special, which is awesome. However, that's one of the biggest, again, that's another thing that you're really going to have to consider. So step one is going to be working out what you're actually going to get funded for the course. What's doable from a viability perspective? What are the requirements? So, you know, are there requirements to do so many visits to the workplace? Are there requirements to do so many hours face-to-face with the learners? You know, all of these are sorts of things that you will need to take into account. So viability is always a really big thing. I know that people think you get paid a lot of money for state-funded courses. That's generally not the case. I generally think that, like, there's, you know, the vast majority of training that's done in cities in particular is very not viable, unless you absolutely pack owners out. Now, one of the other things that you need to take into account then as part of that process, and I think this is a big mistake that RTOs make, is they work out their viability, making this weird assumption that like 100% of your learners are going to complete. And realistically, whether you're dealing with a traineeship and apprenticeship model or whether or not you're dealing with a job seeker model, that's almost never the case. So, you know, depending on the cohort that you're dealing with, you know, we see sometimes as little as 30% completion rates. I've seen data that indicates as little as 5% completion rates. So, you know, when we're thinking about things like, you know, traineeships in hospitality, right? Massive turnover in that industry. Retail, massive turnover in retail. So you're going to have low completion rates. So, you know, you can't assume that you're going to get, you know, X amount out of every student. And so you're really going to need to like think and plan through how and when you start units, you finish units, how many units you open at a time, how much of it is done in the workplace. And in relation to the new standards, you know, like how are you going to then ensure that the workplace is correct? There's a whole new standard in and around that. So yeah, financial viability from a funding one is very important, keeping in mind those nominal hours. Again, going back to like our previous video on learner support, are there requirements for additional learner support services? How does your training day work out in and around that? And there's also just generally a lot more when it comes to actually like paperwork and evidencing for training, like for training and assessment that occurs within the funded space, because obviously the departments are paying you guys to deliver these sorts of things. So they do insist on getting like value for money. And because of the amount of roles that have happened across different funding models across the last 20 years, like that's just what I've seen. You know, they do need to get evidence of that. So, you know, anyone who's complaining about the amount of paperwork that you've got to do, I get the frustration of it, but I also understand how many RTOs have tried to like jip the system where we've just seen atrocious practices. So, you know, I see it, I do see it from both sides. So okay, what are some of the other things that we need to do when we're thinking about our TAS? So yeah, one is we're going to be thinking about nominal hours. Two, we're going to be considering very carefully financial viability. Three, we're going to be looking at any additional contractual requirements. Traineeships and apprenticeships, one of the biggest things is, I guess, 2 points for traineeships and apprenticeships. One is around the number of workplace visits that you're going to need to undertake. And two is going to be in and around the requirements to get sign off from the workplace. So, you know, your training plans is one part of it, but like, for example, in Queensland, New South Wales, you've got logbook requirements. In, you know, WA, you've got kind of that similarly comes through with some of the apprenticeship stuff. You've got your sign off from employers is another area. So considering, like, please actually do put some thought into thinking about how you're going to get documentation from employers. So, you know, training plans, ERAs, logbooks, completion forms. Accelerate's a fantastic system for this. Like, see if you're using any other system, guys, stop doing it. Don't do it. Go, Accelerate. It's a great system. It's everything in one. Stop using 3 different systems. Stop having an LMS and an SMS and a separate CMS and, you know, something else for your document managers. Just stop it. Go and get one system. Go and use Accelerate. That's just my thoughts on it. If you don't want to do that, don't do that. Anyway, I'm in a mood today, guys. Through this series, you will see that I am in a mood. I'm in Queensland now. I absolutely love being in Queensland. It's very hot and humid, and that makes me a little bit narky. So you're going to get some attitude from me over the next couple of videos and just kind of patch stuff up. That's the ways that funding changes your TAS. So number 1, financial viability. Number 2, nominal hours. Number 3, thinking about how you're going to get sign off from the employers. If you email them a document and you expect them to go and print that out and take it to get a signature from the CEO and then scan it back in and send it back to you, it's not going to happen, guys. It's just not going to happen. You need to find a better way. So go and get Accelerate, get some sort of DocuSign system happening. You need to think about other ways of doing this because it's just not going to happen otherwise. Like, it's going to be so slow. It's not automated. You won't know when it's been done. It's a massively manual process. You're going to have 2 or 3 extra admin on board to be able to manage it. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. And support services, again, depending on your cohort. So whether you're doing traineeship and apprenticeship, that's one level that you're going to need to think about. If you're doing under 18s, that's a separate level that you're going to need to think about. If you're dealing with people who've got serious like wellbeing issues, or language literacy, numeracy issues, digital support issues, you know, trauma issues, you know, all of that sort of stuff, you're really going to have to want to put a lot of detail into that and be specific about referencing the contractual requirements that you have. So I know that with our like policies and procedures, not only do we map them to like the standards, so we map them to the old standards, we've mapped them to the new standards, but in a lot of cases, like we've got a policy set that's mapped to the WA funding contractual requirements, because you've got your general provisions, you've got your business rules, you've got your you know, your DTWD fees and charges, you've got variation guidelines, got all these different documents. You know, it's the same thing with, actually Smart and Skilled is pretty good. I have to say, I don't like the fact that you can't copy and paste from their policies and procedures. It's very frustrating. So if anyone from Smart and Skilled is watching, please stop that. Please make it so that we can copy and paste as fast as your policies and procedures, because It just makes it a lot easier when we're writing documentation or when we're putting together a process, or we're trying to explain to people why they have to do things, or we're trying to reference the clauses in your contracts. Queensland, again, there's like 6 or 7 different documents that you've actually got to be able to pull everything into in order to create a set of policies and procedures. So you want to be making sure that your mapping goes across all of that, so that when you get that Queensland audit, keeping in mind the Queensland audit, the New South Wales audit, the Victorian audits are all like dual regulator and state funding body audits. You want to make sure if you have all of that information covered. Okay, guys, that is it for our TAS Series 2024. I hope you found it helpful. If you need to get your TAS checked over, or if you don't have a template at all for your TAS, it's probably not a good sign for your RTO, but still, you might be new. By all means, reach out to us. We've got a great template that covers all of these requirements, or we can come out and validate your TAS, or we can come out and do an audit if that's how you see fit. Otherwise, after this, we're going to be kicking off with the new RTO Standards 2024 series, which I'm very excited about. There's a whole lot of information in there. You're probably still going to be getting the attitude from me, but I'm hoping you guys love it and you'll suck it up. Otherwise, like, subscribe, do all of those good things. Feel free to disagree, but do so respectfully. My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services.